Hello and welcome to the Common Creative Podcast. My name's Chris Meredith.
And my name is Paul Fairweather. And Chris and I are on a mission to open up the conversation about creativity in life and business through the lens of ideas, stories, and visual communication, both visual and verbal communication.
That's right. Today's guest today, Miriam Schulman, is a coach for artists. She helps artists communicate what their work's about and make a living out of it. And for any creative, whether they're in business or in a creative at home or outside of mainstream work, it's a wonderful demonstration of how important it is to understand what your customers are about and to get into what makes them tick, not just what makes you tick. A really exciting show today, Paul.
As I said at the end, it was really almost a personal coaching session for you and I, Chris. Look, she's written a book called Artpreneur, a step-by-step guide to making sustainable living from your creativity. So this is certainly, she could be our pin-up girl for the podcast.
Yeah, she could.
Fabulous insights, some great stories, and very sharp. Enjoyed it immensely. Let's get her in. Miriam Schulman, welcome to the Common Creative Podcast.
Hello.
Hello, Miriam. Very kind of you to join us. I know you're in the States and a full day behind us here in Australia. Listen, we're both very excited to hear what you've got to share because Paul and I are obviously both artists, although I think we make our money in other ways. But tell us, if you don't mind, tell us your backstory. What led you up to being the guru, the person that helps artists make money from their work?
Okay. So like many artists, I wasn't always an artist, and because I didn't believe I could make a living that way. So I took the practical route and I worked on Wall Street. But after 9/11 happened, I decided I couldn't go back to that world. I wanted to be an artist then, but I still didn't believe I could make a living. So at first I painted on the side and I was working for a gym. And while at the gym, they taught me how to sell personal training packages. So then I had my aha moment. I understood that what they were teaching me could be used to sell anything, including art.
And you've taken the step, not just of harnessing that insight to sell your own work, but now you teach other people to sell their work. What's the difference between that? How easy is it to do and how easy is it to teach?
Interesting. Okay. So just to be fully clear, 9/11 was well over 25 years ago. So I was selling my own art for 20 years before I began teaching others how to do it. I didn't start teaching others how to sell art until 2018 is when I started my podcast. And after I started the podcast, people naturally asked me, would you coach me how to do it too? So that's when I started teaching other people's. But it's really what it comes down to when you're a coach is recognizing the patterns that are holding people back. And I tend to see the same patterns happen over and over again. So after a while, that becomes easier. It's like, okay, I've seen this movie before. I know how the story ends.
What are the patterns? What are the key patterns that you've seen?
Yeah. So humorously, I put out a YouTube video today and I talk about art hoarder Barbie, art idealist Ken. I don't think I used Ken and Barbie in my podcast because copywriting, but like art hoarder doll, art idealist doll, scarcity survivor doll, and the polite creative. I think that there's 5 of them. So the polite creative, they don't want to make things weird. They don't want to ask for the sale. Art hoarder, that's somebody, they're always saving their art. Like they're saving it for the juried show. They're saving it for the collection release. They're putting all these obstacles up from keeping people from buying it. And a lot of these have overlaps. The art idealist, real artists don't sell. Real artists don't do it that way. That's not how it's done.
It strikes me. I mean, the thing, we're all artists talking to each other here, but artists, I think, get used to being very vulnerable. They're revealing themselves through their art, whatever it is. It's stuff that they might find quite scary to reveal. And therefore, it's very hard to then package it up and sell it, isn't it? Because it's a little piece of you're selling to somebody on the outside. I guess what I'm asking is, what is it that Is that right? The barrier is that it's so personal. If you're selling a choc bar, it's easy because it's just a choc bar and you can add value or you can change the price. But a little piece of you is tough to sell.
Sometimes that's the problem. And sometimes, even though there are maybe coming from a very deep place, Chris, that they may not be in touch with the place that it's coming from. So then when it comes to time to articulate what it is that they do, they talk about how creating the art makes them, the artist, feels, where when you go to sell something, the person who's buying it, they don't care how it makes the maker feel, they care how it makes them feel.
Yeah.
So if we take this to something that's a non-art, let's take sneakers, for example. Nike doesn't say we make sneakers because we are passionate about making sneakers, because we love making sneakers, because I just get relaxed and I lose myself in the process. And I've been making sneakers since I could pick up a crayon. That's like what most artist statements sound like. No, they say just do it, because what they're selling isn't even a sneaker. It's motivation. You're selling how the customer is going to feel owning the product. Now that's what's hard for artists to do. If we're talking about visual artists, you become a visual artist because you are most adept in communicating visually, not necessarily verbally. And sometimes they're not even aware of what that deeper motivation is, not for them, but for their collector. And that's what they have to name when it comes to sales.
I'm really interested in this line of thought, and I'd like us to come back to it, but via just sort of go back to then about the artist himself. And it's something that I've experienced recently. And it's a little bit connected to that thing you're saying. It's not about the artist. It's about the experience of the collector or the audience. But it seems to me that the first hurdle is actually saying that you're the artist.
Oh, yeah.
I have a friend who's a bit of a mentor to me, very well-known artist in Brisbane. He's been an artist. He's a little bit older than me his whole life, but he was deputy mayor for many years. So, he held a political position. And he said it's only about 5 years ago that he considered himself a real artist when he got a new passport and put artist on the passport. So... And I know that work that I've been doing over the years, an architect and sometimes painter or an artist, or a speaker and, artist, never artist. And I've come to this realization recently since I started wearing bright shirts that I'm an artist, and I've been telling that. How important is that first thing, and how hard is it for people to say, yes, I'm an artist?
Yeah, that's why I started my book that way. Chapter 1 is choose to believe. So I started the book with an Oprah Winfrey quote, like, the more you put that out in the universe, you're the first one that hears it when you say that. So the more you say it, it doesn't just strengthen your belief, but you're also doing several other things that are important. You are developing that one-line elevator pitch. How do you articulate what it is that you do and why? And my artists who actually take that advice and they start introducing themselves as I'm an artist, they've made sales that way. Because they're no longer hiding. It's not the secret that they have.
Why is it, do you think, that it's so hard? Because, we all know as artists inside, it's so important. It's the essence of our being.
Yeah.
It's taken me 67 years. Why is it so hard? Is it society? Is it expectations? What insight do you have? Because you've obviously spoken to a lot of people that have this challenge.
Yeah, people are afraid that they're just not good enough. That's really the core of a lot of what holds people back from doing what they need to do. Fear of rejection, fear of being laughed at, fear that, people are going to look at their art and says, yeah, but it's not good.
I'm guessing, Miriam, let me put in a bit of answer Paul's question. I'm thinking, but Paul and I are both parents. I'm thinking, if one of your kids came back from school one day and said, when I grow up, I want to be an artist, I wonder if you'd think, maybe wouldn't do that, because that's a sort of pathway to poverty and, and suffering. And why not be an accountant or something like that?
Well, that was the message I got. I came from a single parent household, and my mom's Jewish. And if you're born to Jewish parents, you're either a doctor. For a woman, you could be a doctor, a doctor's wife, or you're a big disappointment. So
ask the question, the opposite way. I mean, we've chatted on this show a lot about AI and how it's basically anything you automate it. If you sit at a desk for a living, you're going to be out of a job pretty soon. But creativity will not be taken away from us. My question is it getting easier to be an artist, to make money from art, because we have social media, because everything else is being done automatically? Is art becoming more sort of off? Is it more commercial art becoming more democratic? Is it easier to make money from art?
Okay, very complex question, because first of all, social media is not making it easier. That's a myth. Instagram only has a 0.36% engagement rate. That is 3 out of 1,000 people. And that's average. The top of that average is sports teams and universities. They pull that average up. So home decor retail, it's 0.15, which is 1 out of 1,000 people will do one of these things. We're not even saying buy your art. We'll like it or comment.
Just look at it. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
So that's why I said what your question is complex, because there's a few layers there. So social media doesn't make it easier. The thing about AI and the thing about automation is that people do want art. They want that tactile experience. So the demand for art is actually very high. So I started tracking in my programs how much money people were actually making. And the way I did this is I said, I will give you a mug if you've made $2,000, and I'll give you an even nicer mug if you made 10,000, and an even nicer one if you made 100. Like, this is the way I got people to tell me what they were selling. So the artists in my program have sold over $500,000 worth of art. These are not museum artists. These are not blue chip gallery artists. These are artists who are, either just starting out or just moved from corporate careers into being a working artist. Yeah. So they're doing well, but it's not through social media. It's through more traditional media. So what is that? Print media, publicity, and email, and belly to belly.
Okay, belly to belly. Conjures up a very weird picture for me.
I remember that there was a mood in the Belly of the Architect.
I really empathize with people. It's what it means to those people. And I've sold works. One has a little kayak in it. It's just a tiny element of this very big piece. And the guy that bought it thinks that's him in the kayak. And he said, "Is that me in the kayak?" And I said, "It could well be. I don't know. I can't tell you. If you want to think it's you, that's fine." And then he buys it because he thinks it's him in the kayak. Another one bought it. She said the frame would match my curtains. I thought, all right, then, if that's what you want.
Miriam, can I just sort of jump back a little bit to the conversation we're having before I ask a question about why, it's so hard for us to say we're artists? I was really, and it sort of follows on from what you're just talking about, that about print media and belly to belly and email and stuff like that. What is it, this thing that, from the person that is successful in connecting with their audience or the collector? What is it that and I this is, I think, a really interesting thing for me about how does the successful artist get into the head of the collector to know what to say to them, or, because, it's so easy to talk about our work. So what is the shift? What does that look like?
Okay, I love this question. First of all, it's never about convincing. Okay. So the process I do with my clients, I call it signal excavation. What you're doing is we're excavating what is true for you. What are your values? What are your beliefs? What's your origin story? For artists, all of it's connected. It's all there. Even if you're, like I said before, even if you're not really aware of how it's connected, it's all connected. And then I help them create what I call signals. Like, what do you say that it's going to signal to people the art's for them? It's going to make more sense if I give you an example.
Great.
Okay. So one artist I worked with painted, I forget if they're oil, I think they were oil pastels. They were beautiful skies, these gorgeous, ethereal sky paintings. So when we did her excavation, she shared with me that as a child, she was abused. And she would, And so she would go up onto the roof. She lived in San Francisco. She would go up on the roof and she would just imagine flying across the sky. So I says, okay, then your paintings are really about escape. Now, here is the part that a lot of artists miss. Her paintings are not for survivors of child abuse. They're for people who are looking for escape. Mm-hmm. Just like how Nike is selling motivation, She's selling escape. That's what it does for her collector. But you have to find that uniqueness that's your sky painting, how that's different for you. Now, if I take another one of my artists who also does sky art. So I have a different artist. It's more architectural. She does clouds. And then she also likes to do buildings, like looking up, right? So in our excavation, we were talking and I asked her, what makes you mad? What makes you really angry? She says, the way people are always looking down at their phones. So I said, well, that's your through line. What you are really capturing is looking up and being present. So now suddenly she had a through line between cloud art and architectural art.
So how do they communicate that then? So the woman, she's not communicating about sexual abuse survivors. This other woman's not talking about, don't look at your phone.
Right. So when you describe the artwork, you use words to describe it, like escape, freedom, right? That would be, but this other sky painter is not using escape and freedom. She's talking about mindfulness, presence, looking up. It's a point of view. So it's about talking about the point of view of your art. That's different. Right. And notice it's not about using art speak. It's not about using stuff to impress your art school professor or other artists. It's using plain collector language.
And so this is including in the titles or just in the stuff she talks about?
No, it doesn't have to be in the titles. The titles is very personal to what the artist wants to call it. But the website copy, the copy that might be used in social media, pitching the press, her artist statement, her bio, all those things are going to include those types of signals that will pull in somebody who wants a painting for escape or wants a painting, the architecture. I think I have a third sky artist that I can.
That's okay. I just wanted to connect some dots.
Yeah.
You said at the beginning that you learned how to sell by selling personal training. What is the link between those two? What were you selling? Not that I'm the best trainer. What was that insight there that has led to this other thing applied to the art?
Well, back then, over 20 years ago, is more about just understanding that sales is a skill.
Right.
That anyone can learn. Sales is sales, that it's generalized. But really, to answer the question behind the question, Paul, if I may, is that if I was teaching myself from 25 years ago to sell a personal training package versus, selling art today, what remains true, there's something that what I talk about in my book, Artpreneur, called the belief triad. So there's two parts of this that we've all heard and it's all kind of boring. Believe in yourself, believe in your art. But what people don't talk about is the belief in the customer. So I'll talk first about what that might look like in personal training. So I can believe that I'm a good trainer and I can believe that these exercises works. But if I think, oh my God, Paul's never going to lose weight and I'm thinking this, that's what lack of belief in your customer looks like. Even if I never say that lack of uncertainty would kill the sale because you might be wondering, can I really do this? Can I follow through on this? As a salesperson, I have to believe that you can and you will. Right? Mm-hmm. Now, if we're talking about selling an artwork, let's say it's a $10,000 artwork. What's going through the customer's mind is not just, is Miriam a good artist? Is this artwork good? But do I deserve this artwork that costs $10,000? Because they're not thinking, is Miriam worth $10,000? Now, as salespeople, we're often thinking that I have to convince them that I'm worth $10,000. You have to believe that your customer deserves it. But a lot of us aren't thinking that way. A lot of us are thinking, oh, I don't think she'll ever pay that.
It's people, interesting point. Yeah. In a funny kind of way, I sort of think it's the highest form of sales, or if you're going to spend money, it's the best way that you can spend money because nobody needs art. Nobody, I mean, in a kind of very elemental way, we need food, we need air, we need water, but you need shelter. But you don't need a painting from a gallery. And yet, if you've got money, there's no better way of spending it. It's because you don't need it. And it makes it a very good investment. Is there truth in that idea that it's the highest form of selling, or it's the best way of spending money because it's not a pack of groceries or something?
Well, certainly, the sheik thought so, who bought that Christ, what was that painting that sold for like $400 million? It was yes, wealthy people will make a statement by buying art that they don't even plan on displaying. Okay. So yes.
Oh, wow. Okay. I didn't know that.
Yes. Because it makes that kind of a lot of the artwork that sells for those types of figures. We're talking about like, what's it, 9 figures we're already talking about? If it's multiple hundreds of millions, it never sees the light of day. It like sits in a storage unit. Yeah. So this is part of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Like you said, what do you need? You need food, you need shelter. But something like art, it talks about what it says about the person buying it. What does it mean about the person buying it? What does it say about them? So that is, and then again, yes, you don't need to own the most expensive pair of sneakers. You can run barefoot, actually, like the ones who win the marathon here in New York City, they're practically barefoot. But Nike is selling that motivation. It's like, what does it say about you that you put on Nike? What does it say about you if you're wearing a designer shoe? What does it say about you if you have a certain kind of artwork on your wall? And that's the piece that artists need to understand in order to make the sale. What is it saying about the collector? Do they want freedom? Like we talked about before, do they want escape? Yeah. Okay.
And do you not agree that they also need the story? When you buy a piece of art, we put it on the wall, your friends come and say, oh, I bought this new picture. And they kind of, oh, it's very nice. And then there's a gap, which is, so why did you buy this one as opposed to a different one? What is it about it? And then as a buyer, you need to be able to say, oh, I'll tell you what, this artist is exploring this idea of freedom. And, that really talks to me. Or maybe I met the artist and they sounded really inspiring. They have to have a story. They can't just say, I like it.
They have to. Yeah. They absolutely have to. I've had collectors say to me who liked my artwork, oh, but I need the story. Like I might be listed on my website, but I didn't put the blurb in yet. What's the story?
Yeah.
They're buying the story. They're going to tell their friends.
Yeah.
Miriam, I wanted to take, I'm just so fascinated. I could pummel you with the questions about an hour about this insight. But, our audience is a mix of people, including businesses. And, we say that we're opening up the conversation about creativity in life and business. One of the things that, and I suppose I know what I think the answer is, but I'd just like you to articulate it. Applying that principle then of what you've seen about selling something that is quite difficult, what can businesses learn about this, about how they sell their services or their goods, as opposed to the old way about, this, we've got the best phone or we've got the best this or best that, What is the learnings that we could see?
People are buying a feeling. You're selling how you're making the person feel. That's what Nike got right. They know they're selling motivation. Or if you think about, there was the L'Oreal commercial. So L'Oreal and Clairol are the big competitors in the hair coloring industry. And Clairol's tagline was, does she or doesn't she? They thought that was the biggest thing, like whether it looks natural. And L'Oreal has the more expensive hair product. And so they came out with the tagline, because you're worth it. So they're no longer competing on price. In fact, they're using the higher price to their advantage.
Yeah.
And they didn't say because you look more natural. They're like, you're worth it.
And there is a lot in that in a gallery. If you say there's a $10,000 sticker behind that picture's suddenly a $10,000 picture. If you put a $10, the value is indicated by the price in many ways, isn't it?
Yeah, that's something that Thomas Veblen talked about, a Veblen good, where the perceived value goes up. People want it more if it's more expensive. Yeah. So there's examples like that. Tesla, a Birkin bag. People want it because it's expensive.
Yeah. It's a great signal to your buyer, isn't it? It's worth it.
Watches.
That's what the price.
Men love expensive watches. It signals to other people, yeah, I got a lot of money.
It's interesting. Miriam, we're unfortunately drawing to a close. I think that your book is fantastic, by the way. I love your book, and we'll put a link in the show notes.
Artpreneur, for those who are listening.
It's fantastic, and it is a step-by-step guide, and I think it's something that you can dip back into, constantly as you go through the steps. So it really is a how-to book. So congratulations on that. It is fantastic. But we just wanted to get you to give, one final gem our audience, thinking about the audience, about, for them, to make that move or to go to the next level, whatever it is.
Okay. So, don't step over dollars to pick up nickels. Artists do this all the time. Those nickels, what are nickels? It would be so much fun to make a sticker out of my art. How long does it take you to do that? And how much can you make on that? $4, Instead of spending time doing the things that really are going to move the needle, the more boring things, because making money can be really boring sometimes.
Yeah.
Fantastic. That's great.
So I give that, stay in your lane. If you're an artist, produce great art. That's what you're saying. Well, for fans.
Yeah. And where there's gold, keep digging. If you're successful in something, stop looking for a shiny object somewhere else. Be boring. Keep doing the thing that's working for you.
That's terrible advice, Miriam, because artists love to do new stuff. Oh, I guess I've ticked that box.
Nobody wants to take that advice, but that is how you're going to make a living.
No, I'm laughing. It sounds like really, really good advice. It's just that I can imagine your audience, your artists are thinking, the moment I get a winning formula, I have to break it and do something else.
Miriam, I think that, I'm sure that our audience has got a lot out of this conversation. I certainly have got a lot out of it. In fact, I feel that we're sort of cheating our audience because I've really just had a 30-minute coaching session from you. I apologize to the audience, but look, your insights are absolutely brilliant. And I love the fact that, not only you learn how to do it for yourself, but you decided to share that with the world. So it really is a little thing that's done.
I think of you, Miriam, as a form of therapist. When you're asking artists, why do you do this and what does it mean and so on. Suddenly they have to reveal it. It may be a question they haven't dared to ask themselves. And I'm guessing that what you teach artists to do is kind of psychologists to kind of braille read their customers and go, well, what are you looking for out of this rather than what am I trying to do? So you obviously have huge talent, and thank you so much for sharing that with us.
Well, thank you for having me on.
As always, I do a sketch. So there you go.
That's a $10,000 sketch if ever I saw it.
But you were writing down there. I was like, what is he taking notes for?
So Miriam, thank you so much for joining us on the Common Creator podcast.
It's been a huge pleasure. Yes, I think I'd agree with Paul. This is more of a therapy session and a coaching session than it is a podcast, but I hope everyone listening will enjoy it. Thank you so much, Miriam.
Okay, thank you.
So, Chris,
I feel inspired now. I have no shows planned for my artworks, and I definitely need one. I need to kind of get more commercial and share what it is I do. And what a load of great tips about how to make your work mean something to your audience rather than to you yourself.
Yeah, look, really fantastic. It's so interesting you say that because I have some work in a show at the moment, and I'm planning another show in a fish cafe around fish. But I met a fellow who owns a gallery space literally 150 meters from my house that's very rarely used. Basically, all of a sudden it's like, oh, I've got a gallery space. So I need to book a show and then get into it and communicate my connection. So yeah, look, really, I really love that conversation. I hope the audience got something out of it because, Chris, what we're about, it's not about you and I. It's about giving
it's not. It's about... and they're looking for insights and maybe a bit of inspiration, I think. Well, if you've enjoyed the show, you know what to do. Please hit follow and please hit like. If you want to give us a rating, if you want to give Miriam a rating, and we would suggest you give her a 5 out of 5 rating. She was so brilliant. And of course, tell your friends, tell your friends about the Common Creative. Spread the word. It helps us to promote the show, but it also spreads the word about creativity in home and in business and beyond. I do hope we'll see you for next week's show.
Ciao for now.